All right, it's time for Yogi and the Beach Man. Hi, I'm Jim the Yogi.
And I'm Rick Beach, the Beach Man.
We're two Michigan transplants now living in Southwest Florida.
In fact, we're cousins born in 1964, just a month apart.
I like to meditate.
And I like to play bass in a band.
I'm into chanting Om.
And I'm into throwing down some classic rock.
But together, we're on a mission
to promote people that are helping other people.
We want to make the world a better place.
One conversation at a time.
So sit back,
turn up the volume,
and get ready to laugh.
Because we like to have fun
while we spread the love.
Interviewing lovely people. Yes, we have fun.
Welcome to Yogi and the Beach Man. Today we have Blanca Rodriguez with us today. She is the owner/CEO of Wounded Healer LLC. She's a massage therapist of both people and pets. She's a fitness instructor for people over 55 years old, a holistic life coach, speaker, podcaster, and co-author of an Amazon best-selling book. You are a busy lady doing a lot. Welcome to our show. I'm Jim the Yogi.
I'm Rick Beach, the Beach Man.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. What a joy and an honor for me is to be here.
We're happy to have you. We appreciate you taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
There's quite a bit to say about myself. How much time do you have?
We usually do about an hour, but we've gone as long as 2 hours.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
Well, we have playoff baseball tonight. So
all right. I'll make it short and sweet. Well, of course, my name is Blanca. I am Puerto Rican, born in New York City. My parents are born and raised Puerto Ricans, and they were part of this huge group of Puerto Ricans that make a big exodus from the island back in the late 1950s, early 1960s to the US in search for the American dream. Those were my parents searching for something bigger, something better, especially my father, because it was a traditional family that dad goes to work and mom stays home with the kids. So that was my parents. I am the youngest of 3 siblings. And my father, thankfully, he really achieved the American dream. He was very focused on what he wanted to do. He was a very successful man. He was the owner of the apartment building where we used to live. He had 2 other businesses, a jewelry store and a pawn shop, and everything was very, very beautiful. Abundance, positivity, love. My father was my man. He was my favorite person in the world until tragedy struck and his life was taken back in the 1970s in his place of work, and life was never the same again. Was never the same.
Taken. What?
Yeah. Well, he was killed in his jewelry store.
By thieves, robbers?
Robbers. It was. I mean, it was an armed robbery gone wrong, and unfortunately it was a life cut short. He was only 43 years old.
Ooh.
I was
so
8 years old. Yes, thank you. I was 8 years old upon his passing, and it was the era, the culture of you don't talk about the dead. So that was the first very, very traumatic event in my life as a little girl. And here we go again. Life was never the same again. And with that story, after my father's death, my mother really, really fell into a very deep depression, and she never recovered from it. My mother had chronic untreated mental illnesses. And back in those days, those were the days when mental illness was taboo. Mental illness was basically your life is over kind of dynamic and mindset. And it was the days when one pill will fix everything, which meant get the patients to be like zombies and the problem is solved. Because I had quite a few family members that they had mental illnesses as well, but it was the most chronic cases that will be treated because they were so chronic that they had to go to mental institutions. And this was definitely the recipe. We will make you like a zombie and everything is good in the world, when it was like really, really far from that. It was the era of secrecy, humiliation. My mother was, she was just a widow with 3 kids to raise, and she was terrified to go down that rabbit hole, down that same route as her siblings did. And that created a lot of instability. There was like zero stability at the home. Her emotional well-being was just really not there. There was, of course, the good days, and that part of my mother that has always been this kind, compassionate, caring lady. But then when the demon of mental illness will come out, it was the whole opposite. So it was like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of situation here, being raised under those circumstances, being raised on secrecy. You don't talk about the dead. You don't talk about mental illnesses, because I didn't really understand nothing that was going on, to be honest with you. I had to grieve
Not
my
only
father.
that, in those days, those mental institutions were
Oh, it
awful
was
places
horrible.
that were
Oh yeah, it was
people were treated in terrible
awful.
conditions, and you
It
couldn't get
was
out. You're just,
Yeah,
yeah,
it
don't want to
was
go there.
awful. And then there was like no boundaries when it came to visitors to these mental institutions. And this is a true story. One time when one of my uncles, he will get really sick, he was put in the mental institution. And guess what my crazy family did? We all went on a field trip to visit my uncle to the mental institution. I
Oh
was
boy.
9 years old, and I cannot tell you how terrified I was. I have never smelled so many awful smells and odors in one place like I did in that place. And I mean, these are things that are never, I mean, I had never forgotten. I had never forgot about how I felt, what I smelled, and what I saw, because it
Yeah,
was pretty devastating. And
pretty
then,
traumatizing, I
oh
imagine.
my Lord, that just added up to my trauma.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yes. And research shows that 2/3 of all children around the world will have a traumatic experience by the time they reach 16 years old, whether it is the tragic passing of a loved one, being bullied by family members, or at school, or sexual assault. I went through all three of them by the time I reached 9 years old.
Oh
So
my
you
gosh.
can imagine how that turmoil, it was a very, very ugly, horrible, dark season of my life that lasted for a long time, because the first thing that happened is that I didn't know how to grieve. I didn't know how to deal with all of the stages of grieving. That was this information was non-existent to little kids like myself. Okay. And then my mother being in the state of mind that she was at, and then being sexually assaulted for the first time, that I didn't understand sexuality. I didn't know what that was.
How old were
And
you at that point?
I was 9 years old.
Oh my goodness.
Nine years old, and it didn't stop there. Unfortunately, this was a repetitive action with different faces throughout many years of my life. Very, very unfortunate. And I went down a rabbit hole of being confused, being angry at my father for many years, because it was like, why did you leave me here with her? That was my biggest question that I asked over and over and over to my dead father for years to come. Why do you leave me here with her? I don't want to be with her. And that definitely took me to very dark places of low self-esteem, low self-worth. I was having self-destructive patterns, of course. I was raised in a place where I felt isolated, neglected, abandoned. So that lack of support towards all these traumatic events, it was the way that I survive, because we live lives of surviving or thriving. So I was definitely surviving from a very young age, unfortunately. And when my mother had her good moments, it was good. She was an avid traveler. She always was interested in seeing new things, and that was really, really beautiful. I mean, my parents taught me about the love for music and dance. I've been a fitness instructor and professional dancer for over 40 years. So these are beautiful things that is like, okay, this is the most stable relationship that I had with anything in my life at that point, was music and dance, of course. And of course, music and dance always bring joy in a lot of other people, and I was not the exception. So I'm an avid lover of music, dance. I mean, this is from the day I was born, I think, till the day I'll die. I will have always music and dance within me, always making me good company. And I'm very grateful to say that at those times, music and dance was my refuge, was my salvation, was a place where I felt safe and no harm will come to me. Fast forward now, music and dance is still a beautiful place where I feel joy. I'm honored to be there, but I don't need it to be, it's not a refuge anymore. Is one of the beautiful places that I always go to feel better about myself, or to feel joy, bring joy to others, because I teach group fitness instruction to people of all ages. And it's a whole different ballgame what it used to be before, that it was my refuge, my salvation. I am nothing without this right here, versus today it's like, no, this is an add-on to the joy that I feel to be alive to this day. And it's been a journey, a hard journey of ups and downs. I went down the rabbit hole of abusing alcohol, drugs, trying to fill that void that was just, I mean, I couldn't fill it with anything coming from the outside. I had to really take a good long ass look at myself and say, where is your life going? What are you gonna do to make it better for yourself? And that's when good changes started to happen in my life, because we're beings of change. Change is about it. Change is, it's about this. When you sleep and when you breathe, change is as instilled in us as sleeping, breathing, eating. You don't go without. From the moment of conception to the moment of our passing, change is always there. We are beings of change. And when I became a mother out of a household plagued with domestic abuse, because the abuse just kept on going from person to person to person, this was a generational issue going on. And I had a partner that he was an addict. He died a very young man, and he was an addict to the day he died. He was self-destructive, but then again, I was self-destructive.
Sure.
In many ways, we were looking at each other. We were mirroring each other in more ways than one. We were
codependence, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, the codependency was rampant. It was always there. It was the enabler and the enabled, and it was a vicious circle. It was this crazy eight of never-ending abuse, neglect, pity party, manipulation. Yes, wanting too much attention in a sociopathic way, even, because if you don't have the attention, however it comes, positive, negative, it doesn't matter. Give me attention. And we were involved in a very codependent, addictive relationship, and until kids came along, and that changed.
So can I back you up a second to kind of get a timeline? You had this blissful childhood till about 8, then your father passed, and all this trauma and then alcohol abuse. I'm assuming you're in your teens by this point, and then at some point, about how old were you when you got into this relationship?
I got into this relationship in my early 30s. I gave birth to my son at age 32, and that is when good changes started to happen. But it is always a slow road to healing. Let's remember that the wounds are not our fault, but the healing is our responsibility. We are fully responsible of our actions. And when enough was going to be enough? How long I was going to keep on blaming the world for my actions when I am responsible for everything that I have done in my life, except for the trauma that I endured. Of course, it's not my fault, but I am not going to keep on being somebody's victim or anybody's victim for the rest of my life. That's
so important.
Conducive. Yeah, absolutely. And we're beings of change. We're beings of supposed to be growing. And when I gave birth to my kids, I didn't give life to them. They gave me a second chance on making it better for myself and for them. I started getting out of my own bubble of pity party, low self-esteem, low self-worth, shame, all of these things, and give way to real good change for the better. And that's when I became a massage therapist. It was like that was a major open door for better things to come, because I started to see things from a better perspective, from a different perspective, which is the body, mind, and spirit combination. It's a connection. It is there. No, they don't go as separate entities. These are working as a whole. And when I went to school for massage therapy, I got much more that I bargained for. And I am grateful for this beautiful career for the rest of my life, because I keep on changing. I keep on learning. I'm always in student mode, even though I can be called so-called master of my craft with some sort, because I've been so long doing this. No, I'm still a student, and it's a blessing to have been introduced through schooling to massage therapy. And then from massage therapy, it was just good changes from there. Then I became a canine massage therapist, and then I became a holistic life coach. And of course, I've been into fitness for in my entire life. So here in the state of Florida, it's all about fitness for active adults 55 plus. So it was like, this was something like it fell on my lap, but no, it was part of the plan all along. And here I am, today being the wounded healer. And wounded healers, we are people that our traumatic experiences enables us to help others improve their quality of life, no matter what age we are. And we always have that start button, always waiting for us, saying, come on, hit that button, get out of your comfort zone, and things will be so much better. Just work hard on it, and you will see the results. And I'm still seeing great results to this day. My life is a whole different ballgame from where I was 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago. And
how old are you now, if you don't mind?
I just turned 59 yesterday.
All right. Happy birthday.
Thank you so much. This is a great way to celebrate my 59th birthday. And I celebrated big time, because I could have easily been the statistic of, oh, this woman was killed by domestic abuse and 2 kids were left alone without parents. Or this woman could have easily OD'd and left 2 kids alone because of her. She put it on herself. It was her own fault. It's her own demise. And when it comes to addiction, I not only had problems, a major problem with abuse of drug and alcohol, but I have taken care of thousands of patients in rehab centers for alcohol abuse and drug addiction. So this was like a full circle from me being at the other side, okay, me being almost a patient. And I wish I went to a rehab center back in my 20s, because it would have helped me tremendously. But that was, the era it was different. It was different from now. Now there's like rehab centers everywhere, and they really help their patients. So for me, this came back full circle from being the troubled soul to being the healer, being the massage therapist, being the person that I have a 10-minute window to talk to these patients and ask him, how are you feeling today? And these are the places where there is nothing to hide. They have hit rock bottom in such a bad way. They have nothing to hide. I have never worked in an environment where there's such brutal honesty like in rehab centers. Isn't that something? That is amazing. I found that one of the most inspiring parts of me as a healer is giving massage therapy services to all of these patients that's so very much needed, because they have at least 1, 2, 10, I don't know how many. I have lost many of them. Many of them, they fall off the wagon again. Many of them, they come back over and over and over and over. But there's others that they really pick up these tools and make it better for themselves. And they pay attention and they say, whoa, hold on for a second. this 10-minute massage really made me feel better. How about I let go of that pill that I get high with all the time, all the time, all the time, and try this because it's a natural high. It's the happy chemicals of our bodies getting into full-fledged with one session of massage therapy. How about instead of 10-minute massage, how about I go get half hour, an hour, once a month, once a week? I will feel better. And this is the thing, many of these patients, in my experience, I have found out that at least 80% of them have had some kind of fall, accident, surgery, been shot, that physically they are in a lot of pain, and then they get opioids, and that is it. That
Yeah.
seals the deal for so many and so many. I have taken care of the homeless ones, and I have taken care of the medical doctors and the anesthesiologists and people working in the Pentagon. So it doesn't discriminate in any way or form. And most of the time, the underlying cause of any addiction is untreated trauma. Okay.
Interesting.
All I need to do is ask, how are you doing? And they say it all. And
Yeah.
it comes from many and many, many cases is trauma,
Yeah,
definitely.
they probably feel very safe opening up to you. So obviously you're working in rehab centers now as a massage therapist?
Yes,
Okay, I
one,
didn't
I mean,
realize that before
yes,
this
I have
conversation.
I have private clients as well at a medical spa, but one of my biggest missions is working. I do my work part-time, of course, and
Mhm.
one of my most important parts and missions as a massage therapist in 19 years of working as a MT is definitely working in these rehab centers in a very chaotic environment. Nobody knows what happens in there. Nobody understands until you see it with your own eyes. If we are the calm in the middle of an eternal, ongoing hurricane, 7 days a week with different patients and different people, you hear everything. You see a lot that you wish you didn't otherwise. You don't really care
Yeah.
about seeing that, but it's unavoidable and it's part of my service that I give to others.
Yeah.
That's very meaningful to me.
Yeah, my brother-in-law actually passed away just about a year ago this week from alcohol poisoning. From he
I'm
basically drunk
sorry.
himself
Yep.
to death. Thank you.
Mhm,
Yeah, he was my best friend. It was really hard to handle, but he
mhm.
was in and out of rehab centers, and yeah, just it's an awful disease.
It really is. It
Yeah,
really is. And you can
but
see it. You can see it in their bodies. You can see it in their skin. You can see it. I mean, I can pinpoint it. It's like, okay, you are opioids. You are alcohol. You are fentanyl. Yeah, that's
mhm,
like the latest. You are
yeah,
fentanyl. You OD'd on, I mean, every single pill that you found somewhere, you just OD'd on that because many of them, oh, you can see them. You can see the skin tone and the
mhm,
color. I have seen all skin tones on these people. The ones that died and they were brought back, they're still gray when they're brought back. They're gray, they're yellow. I mean, they are in
mhm,
decay from the inside out. And then you start seeing the progress little by little. They're dirty, they're stinky. You have no idea when was the last time they took a shower. You don't have no idea where they have been. And
mhm,
then it progresses little by little and little by little until they start feeling better. And I could say, there's a lot to be done in these rehab centers because they are masking a situation with more pills. I mean, the detox process, and they need to step it up to the plate because for what I have seen repetitively is that they're put to sleep with pills and pills and pills and pills until they
yep,
detox from whatever it was that they were addicted to. And then from there, they keep on drinking pills. So, I mean, you're masking one thing with the other. You're masking
yep,
one problem with another big problem.
Well, you just
And
what
Mhm.
happens is they get transferred from just being on street drugs to being in the pharmaceutical never-ending cash cow.
Absolutely.
Now the state's paying for it on a welfare system or Medicaid or whatever. So
Right.
there's no incentive for state agencies to make people well.
That's
Just
right.
like there's no incentives for doctors or hospitals to, we don't have a healthcare industry, we have a sick care industry, and
Mhm.
that's
Absolutely.
just how it rolls.
Oh,
So
yeah, it
as
really
these
does.
people, as your patients and the ones you get through to, and I'm sure it, I mean, I would think it's probably a medium to low success rate as far as people that get
Without a
better.
doubt. Mhm. Without a
And
doubt.
people that finally say, "Hey, I'm going to be done with this," and break that
Mhm.
cycle,
Oh, absolutely.
because it's the most difficult thing. I mean, Jim and I both have had family members struggle with addiction. I
Mhm.
smoked for years. I know what that is. Thankfully, I've never had a drug addiction, but I sure know people that have, and my mom is in the ground right now because of that exact reason.
Mhm.
But uh, it, it just takes people, then the pharmaceutical industry just never lets them go. And
Oh,
the
absolutely
state
not.
doesn't let them go either. It just moves the money from one place to the other.
That is absolutely right. I cannot agree with you more. I have seen it with my own eyes for a very, very long time because my focus of I mean, the focus of my career has always been with the medical industry. I've been a medical massage therapist for a very long time, and I have almost my entire career. I have worked for wellness centers, for chiropractors' office, for medical offices, for integrative medicine, and when I am telling you that we are too cheap. We solve the issue better, much better than any pill. And that's why we're like, no, you need to go, you need to give this much of the treatment, which is a 10-minute window that we have 2 times a week or 3 times a week for to take care of each patient, when it should be much more than that. And we are in the business of keeping people sick, the
Yeah.
business of keeping people addicted, the business of keeping people going downhill and wanting more and more and more, because that's how they make their billions of dollars. And the billions of dollars clearly is not enough. It's I give me more and more and more. There's no ending to it. There's no ending to it. Unfortunately, we are the only ones who can end it. We are the only ones who can make a change. And this culture is a very difficult thing to really readapt ourselves and understand that our bodies have the capacity to heal and recover if we only pay attention.
And
If
on
we
that note,
Mhm.
how do you? I would assume that you'd have to incorporate diet and exercise into your recovery advice, because I personally think that those are the two building blocks of a healthy mind and body, for sure.
Absolutely.
And
Mhm.
especially if you're in that situation where you're trying to purge your body of toxins, and then even once that happens, what's it take to clean up? A week, 2 weeks, 10 days, I would
Mhm.
think. But then once the physical withdrawals and symptoms subside, you never stop dealing with the head,
Oh yeah,
with the
absolutely.
mental aspects, where
Mhm.
that can go on. And heck, I haven't had a cigarette in 5, 6 years, but I
Mhm.
probably could go have one right now. It wouldn't bother me. But
That's right.
but
Mhm.
it never. But the mental aspects just never go away. I'm sure
Oh
they
yeah.
get easier over the years, and they do for everybody. So
Oh yeah.
so
Yeah.
so what type of diet and exercise routine do you recommend that people incorporate when you're giving them advice?
Well, the advice that I can give to people that want to make these changes is like, you're going to get out of your comfort zone and you're going to make time for these things, because we are beings of habit. The same way we create a habit, we can let go of of all habit for a new habit. And this is when we need to be very aware that any habit takes 21 to 67 days to create. And in many cases, it takes much longer than that to stick to the habit, because we can have a new habit and say, wow, this habit is great. I am eating better. I am eating cleaner. I eat things that are alkalizing for my body. I drink half my weight in ounces of water because my brain function will be better. My gastrointestinal function will be much better with all this good water intake. And then we can fall off the wagon. Just like people with any addiction can fall off the wagon, because here we go, the body remembers everything. thing. Your body will remember where you used to be when you were a smoker. I was a chain smoker and I quit smoking 23 years ago. No, 24 when I got pregnant for my daughter. And it was cold turkey. And it was a one time chance that I had. Is like, I don't like what I'm tasting. But if I kept on insisting that I want that cigarette, I will be right now smoking, because it was a habit that I had for a long time. And I am not going to take that risk on falling off the wagon and grabbing that cigarette again. So when it comes to incorporating good eating, better eating habits and exercise, a lot of people are terrified and freak out just by the word diet and fitness. Okay. Oh, you got to go to, oh my God, a big one, going to the gym. The gym for many is like, it's like going to, I don't know, Halloween Horror Nights or something like that. It's a horror tale, and they're the
Really
boogie, all the,
intimidated.
oh yeah, they are intimidated. It's like the boogeyman is waiting for me in the gym because I don't want anybody to look at me, or whatever the case may be. But how about changing the narrative, saying, how about you eat a little bit better than yesterday, a little bit better than a week before? How about drinking a little more water, because all of that gastrointestinal issues that you're having issues with constipation. Constipation is lack of fluid in our intestine. Okay, isn't that something? Yes, it is. And it's like, well, how about how are you going to relieve your constipation? Well, I heard that drinking more water is a good idea. And a lot of the approach that I give, because I practice everything that I recommend. Okay, I wouldn't recommend anything to anyone unless I try it first. And I always say, well, this is what has worked for me. And that feeds people's curiosity. You're not shoving things down people's throat. You're not bombarding them with, go to the gym, you have to get into some fitness, you need to diet. Oh, the word diet. The word diet is so big and so huge and so far for so many people. And this is why we have another pandemic of obesity, especially in the US, that this is like the #1 in obesity, unfortunately, starting with child obesity. And this is something that years ago, you will never see it. Okay. This is recent. This is not so far off. And this is what happens, we are beings of habit. If you form a habit at home that you're feeding your kids with burgers and hot dogs and pizza every single day, then you know what's going to happen with your kid. But on the other hand, you are the one who's making the grocery shopping. This is what you're going to do. You're going to step out of your comfort zone and not buy all of this junk food for your kids, because it's easier for you to throw something into the microwave, eat, bro, than, okay, let me make a conscious decision of helping my kid to lose some weight, and then I help myself, because it's a win-win situation here, especially when it comes to building better eating habits. You cannot be without eating. You can't. You cannot be without eating, just like you cannot go without change. So how about little by little, take it easy on yourself. Don't put so much pressure on yourself that, oh, I have to change this immediately, because that's another one that causes so much stress and frustration in people, expecting a miracle in 1 week. Oh, I'm going to lose 50 pounds in a month. That is not real. You need at least a year, depending on how out of shape you are. What is your lifestyle? Do you have a sedentary lifestyle? Do you have a sedentary job, for a start? That people eat on the run, they eat on their desk and they don't move. That is a sedentary job. And then you go home and you eat and you sit down again. Well, there you go. You got a full sedentary lifestyle. How are you going to start making these changes little by little? Take your time.
We get into this topic quite often because it's kind of one of my favorite things to talk about is, food and nutrition. And you're exactly right that it's really difficult to get started. And even if you research this and really are cognizant of what you're buying in the grocery store, and you're going to the farm markets and you're buying the honey from the guy on the side of the road, not the stuff on the top shelf of the grocery
Mhm.
store.
Right.
And to have these, it's really expensive though, and it's difficult. The learning curve is really hard because we don't get any instruction. The
Right.
public service announcements that you see, remember when we were kids, you remember what your children are watching on TV and stuff like,
Right.
but there's never anybody, go get fresh fruits and vegetables. It's always, well, Time Magazine just came out with an article 2 weeks ago. Are super ultra processed foods really bad for us, or
Oh
something like
my.
that? So it was advocating like
Mhm.
it's a question. And the food pyramid, once again, and this is going to be redundant for people that listen to us all the
Right.
time because we bring this up often. But
Mhm.
it right now it says that up to 10% of calories for our kids should be refined sugars.
Whew. Wow. That's intense.
So why are all our kids 52% obese? Of kids
Mhm.
under 16 are obese. The childhood diabetes, it's just
Oh
sad.
man.
And there has to be an awakening and awareness. And Jim and I are determined to get this out. uh, on every podcast, it seems like we come back to this, the poisoning of our kids, and
Mhm.
all those things, they lead to these mental illnesses,
Oh
and
yeah.
they
Absolutely.
lead to being lethargic
Mhm.
and
An
being
addiction.
sedentary,
Yeah.
and problems with
Mhm.
you're fighting with your wife because you feel like crap, and
Exactly.
general unhappiness.
Exactly.
And if you, I don't know, it I believe it all starts there. And
Mhm.
we the thing, I believe it would be a very quick thing to turn around if enough awareness was made to people around the country that way. If you go down the aisles of the grocery store, you may as well be just shopping for poison.
That's right.
And I heard that, I don't think I said it last week or not, but the one guy in this hearing I was listening to said, "Hey, if your grocery store has a health food section, what's the rest of the grocery store?"
Exactly.
Yeah, you did say that.
Really?
Oh my
And
God. That makes
and
total sense.
it really
Total
does.
sense.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But if you want to buy a dozen organic eggs, which are going to be better for you than
Hmm.
the $2.50, they're $6.
Oh, at
Exactly.
It's
least.
hard. And if you I can understand that if you're feeding a family of two, three, four, five,
Hmm.
it's hard to buy
Mhm.
the $6 eggs when you can get
Yeah.
18
Oh,
$6.
Yeah,
absolutely.
but
Absolutely.
overall, it does pay off.
It
Less
really
dentist
does.
visits, less doctor visits. Your
Hmm.
kids are healthier. The kids are going to be smarter. They're going to get better
Hmm.
jobs.
Well, that's the
So
better part.
it
That's the
does pay
best
off,
part of it. That
but
when
it is
you
expensive.
when you and the best investment that we can do is the one on ourselves.
Mhm.
And having better eating habits is an investment on our health. Is an investment on avoiding doctor's visits. Is prevention. Is having that gut brain combination in beautiful. I mean, in a beautiful matter. Let's remember that our bodies work as a team, not separate entities. And this is another thing about Eastern medicine, that there's a doctor for every single part of your body. I remember when I was a little girl that my mother will take us to the doctor, and the doctor treated us for everything. One doctor. And now, fast forward till now, is the doctor for the feet, for the hands, one for the face, from for the nose and the ears, and of course the vision doctor, the dentist. And then with if you have something going on, you go to the dentist. I am in the middle of my menopausal stages, and I have something called burning mouth syndrome. It's directly related to hormonal changes and menopausal stages. It happens more in women than it happens in men. And I was like, what is happening to me? And the first thing that I said is go to the dentist. Go to the dentist. Okay. So I went to the dentist, and the dentist said, "Oh, you need to go to the oral surgeon." And I need the oral surgeon because my mouth feels like it's burning down to the ground, that I eat, that I'm drinking hot soup all day long. Nah, there's got to be something more going on here. So I did my own research, and I conquered because I know exactly how to keep the burning mouth syndrome while I'm going through all of these stages of my changes in my menopause, how to keep the burning mouth syndrome at ease. And you know what it is? Less sodium in my diet. Don't eat spicy
Interesting.
foods. Don't eat spicy foods. Drink more water. Eat things that are alkalizing to your body more than acidic to your body. Bingo. And let
Right.
me tell you something, burning mouth syndrome, when it gets to very severe cases, you don't salivate. And when there's no salivation, when there's no humidity in our mouth, it can cause massive problems, even losing our speech. So this is how deep down the rabbit hole this situation can go. But on the other hand, you do your homework. What can help me with my symptoms? Well, I did exactly that. And I'm into my year number 6 with burning mouth syndrome. And there are days that if I dare on eating a slice of cheese pizza, I know what's going to happen later. But then I eat my good foods. I eat my tea. I drink my teas that are alkalizing, that are soothing for my gut. The burning mouth syndrome is not there. It's nowhere to be found. Imagine that. We are what we eat.
Well, if you went
Literally.
to it, if you did after your orthodontist appointment or oral surgeon appointment, he would have said, well, maybe not. You need to maybe go see a regular doc, ear, nose, and throat guy. And then the ear, nose, and throat guy, you got to get a referral from your primary care. So you got to pay him $100.
Yeah.
And then and that's your copay. Then you got to go pay $180 for your
Oh,
specialist.
oh my
So,
God, yes. Well,
so
they were, I stopped immediately when the dentist said, well, I think you need to go to the oral surgeon and get some kind of medication because, and I'm like, okay, stop right there.
Yeah.
well,
I'm done. Yeah.
my point was going to be
Yeah.
that, and then that oral surgeon's going to say, man, this burning mouth syndrome, that's from too much sodium in a diet. I think we have a pill to lower sodium. What can we give her?
That is so, oh my God,
And
that
then
is
you'd
Yeah.
be,
so
what was his name?
true.
And then it'll have a side effect. So
Jim's
then
the
you got to
nurse.
have
Yeah.
a side effect drug to take care of the side
And
effect.
that's going to cause constipation. So we're going to give you these three pills.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is so interesting. And you know what else really calm my burning mouth syndrome? Acupuncture.
Oh, interesting.
Acupuncture. Imagine
Yeah.
that, going through those meridian acupuncture points that has to do with the meridians, and the meridians are
Mhm.
related to different organs of our bodies, and
Yep.
boom,
Yeah. That's scary
acupuncture.
for a lot of people. I've had acupuncture. It's not bad.
I've had
And
it.
no, oh well, I love it. I love it. If you're scared of needles, then that's another story. But to
Yeah.
me, acupuncture has been one of the most powerful practices that I ever received in my life. And for my burning mouth
Mhm.
syndrome, it was, I mean, it was very close to what they say, a cure. Imagine that. Acupuncture and better eating habits, being very aware of what I put in my body. That was a game changer. And I'm salivating just fine. I mean, I drool like crazy when I'm sleeping. So it's all good. It works out. Oh, yeah.
I'm just wondering if we're gonna get our YouTube video struck for talking all this misinformation about eating healthy to cure diseases.
Yeah.
Because
You can't talk about curing things. You have to
no,
treat symptoms.
you have to treat symptoms.
Yeah, it
And
treats them really well. Okay, I take back about the curing thing, but
well, and
it treats all my symptoms to perfection, definitely.
Yeah.
and most of our conversations are in this kind of health and wellness space, and it always seems, and we come across people in our personal lives. I've met
Yeah.
a couple, and JP's aware of, where people have cured their cancers just by diet
That's right.
and by eating right, and
Not
Mhm.
eating the foods that cause cancer.
or
which
other
is
chronic
80% of our
Exactly.
diet.
chronic illnesses, mental illnesses, psoriasis, eczemas, just
Mhm.
by putting the right foods in your system, or becoming aware of the poisons that you are putting in your system and
Exactly.
eliminating them.
Yeah. Your
Mhm.
body will heal itself if you give it the right
you let
nutrients.
it.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh
there's
yeah.
and
Absolutely.
what do they call them? Endocrine disruptors
Endocrine.
that mess with your hormone production, and
Mhm.
most of these are estrogen they make estrogen or they promote so in men it's terrible, especially teenage boys who are developing and stuff. So they get this big
Yes. Oof.
estrogen bump every time they eat some Fritos or whatever. And then,
Mhm.
Oh, we give it to babies with soy formula. That's
Oh
the big
my
reason
God.
why girls in this country now have their periods around 10 years or
I was
younger.
just gonna say that I
Yes.
heard that
Yes.
from the
Yeah.
1960s when we're the same age, the three of us,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and but when our parents when our moms went into puberty 16, 17, or 15, now they're
Right.
going at 10, 11, 12 years old.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes,
Or younger.
premature. And then this is the thing, this is what happens with premature periods. Then the menopausal stages start even earlier in life because of premature periods, and it causes a total imbalance. It's a mess in there because you're starting your perimenopausal stages at age 37 when you're supposed to start them at age 45 or older. And this is when I mean, these are the consequences, long-term consequences of what we're putting in our bodies. Is crazy, is sad, is troubling, and how much these sicknesses is like, okay, are these sicknesses kind of man-made almost? Because this is ridiculous and it's all
They for
about,
sure are.
Yeah.
They for
yeah.
sure are produced. Well, there's
Well, not to say
there's
people
side
weren't
effects.
ever sick before they changed agriculture
Right.
and the food industry, but it's
Mhm.
it's gotten out of hand. It's crazy.
Oh
The
yeah.
amount of diabetes, the amount of cancer, the amount of obesity. I mean, it's
Mhm.
overwhelming how sick people are.
It really is overwhelming.
Autoimmune
Stuff
diseases.
Autoimmune disorders and
and
diseases.
autism.
Hmm.
Yeah, autism. Yes, absolutely. And how teenagers are overdeveloped, especially girls that are overdeveloped. They have bodies of a 25-year-old woman when they are 13. So
Hmm.
it's like, okay, I'm seeing exactly what is happening, what are they're putting in their bodies, and the consequences are really, really troubling. And this is the thing. The great father of medicine, Hippocrates will be, oh my God, he will be cringing in his grave because he used to say this, that with massage therapy, fresh air, music, good eating habits, and physical activity, the body will stay in a healthy state. And all of these millennia later, he is still absolutely right. This is why he will cringe and he will be twisting and turning in his grave if he saw something like is happening today, especially here in the Americas. It's very, very troubling and very sad.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
what they're doing in the health field now is actually changing what used to be normal. Now
Yeah.
people are abnormal. So now they're changing to
Mhm.
say, oh, well, this is normal.
Wait.
Exactly.
Explain that.
Okay, okay, for example, girls going into puberty at a much younger age.
Okay.
Well,
Right.
now they'll start to, and I'm using this as an example that might not be true, but just to
Mhm.
give you an
Sure.
example,
Yeah.
because there's other things that are what used to be normal is now abnormal. So they change the parameters to say, oh, this is normal.
Mhm.
Like the guy we had on the other day, when at 50 years old, they're telling him, well, it's just high blood pressure is just a part of growing older. The problems that you're having, the diseases you're getting, are just a part of growing older. They
And
become
and
normalized.
here's your beta blocker.
And here's your medications.
Here's your
Oh, here's
medication.
your medications for your symptoms from the medications. You'll
Exactly.
take these for the
Exactly.
rest of your life.
Well, there's no doubt. There's absolutely. You're 100% right on that.
Oh yeah,
They,
absolutely.
well, they
Absolutely.
can change the definitions at will
Hmm.
of this stuff, and we're getting into a different area. I don't know if we want to go
Yeah.
to right now, but I mean, just the amount of the way that the medical industry has been so co-opted, and I think before
Mhm.
COVID, I would go to the doctor and trust what my doc says. No more. I would go if I
Yeah.
broke my arm,
Mhm.
but I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm probably not going for a sore throat or the flu anymore. I'll just do it
Oh
myself.
no, not
I
at all.
never
I
trusted them.
I mean that. Well, I did have that trust
Yeah.
until I was never one to run to the doc anyway. But now it's just I've had several arguments with my doc over ivermectin and some other
Hmm.
ways to you know
Mhm.
that should not be an issue, but their corporate deal, and I don't want to get
Yeah,
into all that. But it just doesn't work, and I will never trust
exactly.
the medical establishment again. And Jim's in the medical establishment, and
I see the corruption and the evils in it. It's a mess. It's
Oh,
just a mess.
I'm sure. I'm sure. I saw the evil and the corruption in the form of working in these rehab centers. Therefore, these are centers to help addicts, but then they are substituting one thing with the other, and it's a very sad thing to see, definitely.
Yeah.
And there was some of the patients, they will refuse to take these medications because one of them, it was very interesting with one of them specifically. He said, I am not going to take these damn medications because it's going to be 10 grand more a week. And I'm not going to pay 10 grand more a week for pills that I don't need. This was a young man, smart as heck, this guy. And I listened very closely to what they're saying. And most of these patients, they're like, oh, the first week I was sleeping for a week, and they were not kidding. They were put in medication for a week to sleep it off, get that body detoxing from what they were taking, and reintoxicating the body with something else. So you are fighting fire with fire in a case that this kind of fire is not what is best for the patient's interests, definitely. And I saw too much that is not, I mean, I am sure that if some of these facilities hear me speak, they will be like, what in the world is she saying? Is this kind of an expose? Well, I don't have a problem with that. Okay. I mean, really, this is what I saw. And I saw it from the outside in, and from what many patients will say, what many patients will refuse to do. And many patients will say, and it's like, no, I want to be awake through my recovery and my detox because I want to remember how it felt. Imagine that. So these are people, this is a small population of people that they want to feel the pain because they won't forget the pain, so they can avoid that pain to gain pleasure in another way, which is not doing these drugs anymore or intoxicating themselves with alcohol, because alcohol is a killer as well. We know that, and I have had family members that this uncle of mine, he died of alcohol poisoning because my auntie died. They were 52 years married, and he decided to leave and follow her. So that's exactly what he did. He drank himself to death, literally, and he did it on purpose. So these are things not to take lightly, definitely. And when it comes to this rehab centers, I did some research about rehab centers specifically in the state of Florida. There's one rehab centers per 5,000 residents from the state of Florida. There's 28 million people living in the state of Florida. So you can imagine how many rehab centers there are in the state. And this is not in the top 10 states of drug abuse, okay, that is so needed. It's just that it's great for business. It's a fantastic.
Yeah, it is great for business.
Yes.
And from what I understand, I think Rick mentioned this earlier, it's a small percentage of people that go through these rehab centers
Absolutely
actually turn their lives around.
Oh, absolutely.
Not rotating in and out of the door or
exactly. I could tell you that it's reduced to less than 3% of the people that actually turn their lives around and make a permanent change for the better. So something is terribly wrong and something's just not working out. But on the other hand, it's working out for the ones that have very deep pockets. 3%. That's for sure. Yeah.
Oh, them too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like a heroin addict, if that gets arrested, going to go through rehab or go through withdrawal or whatever, they're going to put that person on methadone. Then when they get out, they're going to the methadone clinic. And I didn't know that they're so prevalent. There's a lot of those around. And, but I had no idea. But when you walk in the door as a heroin addict to get on methadone, they just tell you, okay, you're going to be on this forever. Not like, hey, we're going to wean you off of this over 10, 12 weeks, little at a time. No, you're in the system and this is it. And I had no idea.
Wow.
The goal of methadone was to was to kind of get you this
Transition off of it.
Yeah,
being
and
a
there's-
junkie. But what's the difference if you're I mean, you're
Exactly.
still a junkie, just not getting high.
Exactly. You're substituting one problem with the other. You're masking one problem with the other. And where is the solution? There's nowhere inside if you keep on masking one thing with the other. You
But
got
it's
to go to
promoted
the
by
root
the state
cause.
and these are state clinics. This is stuff we pay
Exactly.
for.
Mhm.
And that's big pharma at work.
Yep.
Pharma.
Yep, absolutely. And this is why we're here to share with the masses this is very important information. And this doesn't come from people that we are making things up. These are things that we see on a daily basis. So
For sure.
yes, this is important. Yes.
So we've been asking this question of all our guests lately. Blanca Rodriguez, what are you doing to make the world a better place?
I am helping people improve their quality of lives no matter what age they are. And what my mission is both very important for the world to understand that if I had the blessing, and I am so honored to still be in this world after so many things that I've been through, after going through such deep rabbit holes, after being in such dark places in my life, is because there is something bigger than myself that that my mission is all about, and definitely is helping others through my story, helping others through my craft, helping others through my vocation, helping others. And this is definitely my way of life. This is not limited only to help others and then I go and sit down and say, wow, I am so cool, I am so awesome, I'm a badass. No, it's not about that. It's about being thankful to help one person, 2, 20, a million. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, for me, helping one person, I will do it with the same passion as I do to the other 20. It's just like when I go to the rehab center, the first massage that I do is as important as massage number 14 3 hours later, because it's 10-minute increments, it's 14 different bodies. It's very exhausting, but still with the same conviction, still with the same love, because the first person that received the service is as worthy as receiving a service of excellence, and the last person as well. So this is my biggest mission that I have had in my entire life, is exactly what I'm doing right here, right now, and it's spread hope. Don't do it alone. Don't do like I did for so long, that I was in the world of isolation, believing that I was not worth anybody's time or support. Don't do what I did. And this is why it's so important for me, because I was there for a very long time, and it was sad, and it was isolating, and it was confusing. But now that I see things with a different lens, I got out of my comfort zone and I did the work. And you know what I did? I face myself. I look at myself in the mirror and I said to that woman right there, you are capable of better things in your life. And to this day, I still look at that woman in the mirror and I say, wow, we have come a long way, you and I, sister. We are rocking this place, and I am grateful every day for being here, for having relationships with beautiful people, being able to spread the word of hope and resilience in platforms like this right here, right now, the day after my birthday. I just turned 59 years old, and at my 30s and 40s, I didn't think I was gonna make it, and I'm still here for a reason, and it's something much bigger than myself. So this is my mission for the world, definitely. Yeah.
That's a great mission. I hope you keep doing that work and
Oh,
spreading
I
the message
sure
of
will.
hope. That's important.
As long as I have a brain and a voice, I will keep on doing it as long as I live.
Well,
Definitely.
you got 2 good ones there, so you're
Thank you.
blessed.
Thank you. Oh, thank you so much. I value that tremendously.
Hey, Blanca, I'm usually the one to determine at the end of the podcast if we would like to have them back sometime. So hopefully maybe you'll rejoin us again, maybe in a few months, see how you're doing, catch up.
I would love to. It would be an honor for me. Are you kidding me? Yes and yes. Thank
Great,
you.
we'd love it too.
Ah,
All
thank
right, Blanca,
you.
you be safe over there.
I sure will. You guys as well. And thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, take care.
See you.
So if you just listen to this podcast and you appreciate the content and the work that we're doing, we would love your support. Look in the comment section of this episode, subscribe, rate us, comment. This gets our podcast in front of other listeners. And if you noticed, we don't have advertisers. For the cost of a cup of coffee, you can help keep it this way. Become a supporter right now. We'd appreciate it. I'm Jim the Yogi.
I'm Rick the Beach Man.
Meantime,